The ability to do more than one thing at the same time is seen as a desirable skill in the modern world. People that can multitask are seen to be more productive. It's a lie. And if you want to achieve more at work and in your personal life, stick with me for the next few minutes. My name is Eddie Boertes and I'm the founder of Leadership. I work with leaders and teams to build an organizational culture where people thrive. At no time in the history of the world has change taken place at a more rapid rate than now. It has been estimated that more change has taken place in the last decade than in the past 5,000 years. We are busier than ever before. We are required to do more in less time and to produce more with less resources. We are also the most distracted now than ever before. I watch in amazement as my kids try to study for an exam, listen to music, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram almost instantaneously. This couldn't happen in previous generations, even if we wanted it to. Now, this is why we need to shift our thinking. In 2009, Dr. Clifford Nass, a cognitive scientist at Stanford University, surveyed 262 students on their media consumption habits. He then took the 19 students that multitasked the most and the 22 students that multitasked the least. And he did 2 computer-based tests that were completed while only focusing on the task at hand. First, they had to remember the briefly glimpsed orientations of red rectangles surrounded by different numbers of blue rectangles. In the second task, they were asked to categorize a random string of words and then to do it again without categorizing those words that were preceded by a beep. In a third test, a different group of 30 high and low multitaskers were asked to identify target letters on a screen. As the test was repeated, they had to remember where the letters had also been targeted in earlier trials. In every test, students who spent less time simultaneously reading email, surfing the web, talking on the phone, and watching the television, they performed best. These are all very standard tasks in psychology, said Nass. In the first, there's lots of evidence that if people do poorly, they have trouble ignoring irrelevant information. For the second task, there are many demonstrations that it is a good reflection of people's ability to organize things in their working memory. The third test shows how fast and readily people switch from doing one thing to another. In another recent study, Russell Poldrack, a psychology professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, said this at the end of his research on learning and multitasking. Multitasking adversely affects how you learn. Even if you learn while multitasking, that learning is less flexible and more specialized, so you cannot retrieve the information as easily. Brain scans of people who are distracted or multitasking show activity in the striatum, a region of the brain that is involved in learning new skills. Brain scans of people who are not distracted show activity in the hippocampus, a region involved in storing and recalling new information. Discussing his research on National Public Radio recently, Poldrack warned, "We have to be aware that there is a cost to the way that our society is changing, that humans are not built to work this way. We are really built to focus, and when we sort of focus ourselves to multitask, we're driving ourselves to perhaps be less efficient in the long run, even though it sometimes feels that we are being more efficient." We need to learn how to focus. What happens in an airport traffic control tower is the best illustration of leveraging our brain's ability to focus on the single most important activity while also being aware of other priorities. At any one time, there could be more than 100 planes approaching, taking off, or taxiing around. The controller is aware of all of the other planes on the radar. She is absolutely keeping track of them. But right now, every bit of her focus, every bit of her talent and expertise is focused on landing that one single plane. Nothing else matters as much as getting that one single plane on the ground safely. Now, if you're finding yourself torn between various activities and discovering that you're not really doing the things which matter most, you may want to consider asking the following questions. What is the one single activity that you've perhaps been avoiding in your life or neglecting in your life? What's the one single activity that you know that if you had to start doing this activity right now, consistently and with excellence, this one single activity would have the greatest possible impact in your personal life? The failure to achieve this would render everything else in your life insignificant. Now do the same exercise for your professional life. Don't try and do too much right now. Rewire your brain to create some new habits, and only then to start focusing on other areas that would make a difference. At the beginning of each week, ask yourself the following question. What is the one single thing that'll have the greatest possible impact over my week? Failure to achieve this one single thing will make all other activities irrelevant. Then do the same thing on a daily basis, and then do that activity first thing in the morning. Research shows that when our minds are most fresh, we have a better chance of doing the most important things. We have more willpower first thing in the morning. The longer we leave it, the less chance we have of doing those things that are most important. I want you to imagine the rays of the sun striking a newspaper that is lying on the sands of a tropical beach. Even if the newspaper were to remain there for many years, there wouldn't be very much sun damage. Sure, the pages would turn yellow and fade, but for the most part, the newspaper would remain intact. Yet, if you were to use a magnifying glass to focus the rays of the sun, we could set the newspaper ablaze in minutes. This is the power of focus. It is magical. Like the sun, you and I have enormous potential power, but it will not bear fruit until that energy is focused. That's all for today, folks. If you found this content useful, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and share the video with your friends. Have a wonderful week, and until next time, cheers.